Hello and welcome to my parent information session today. The topic of discussion today is that of reporting and assessment. Now, quite often we receive these reports that are sent home via our children, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. We'll have a quick glance at them, maybe do a quick number comparison inside our heads, make a few judgments which are normally incorrect, and then that is it. We never look at those reports again. And now I'm hoping by the end of this information session you'll be able to use the data on those reports not only to better inform yourselves but to also inform your children and help them make progress. So what else is it that I want you to take away from this information session today? Now, when your child joins us at the start of year 7, that end of key stage 2 data is passed across to us, normally in their core subjects, maths, science and English, and we also carry out baseline assessments, normally during Taste Week. Now, baseline assessments assess developed ability rather than what the child knows in a particular area. There's not much your child can do to revise for these. So I'm hoping to give you an understanding as to how we use this data to inform our planning. I'm also hoping you get a better understanding as to what our termly reports mean, what the levels on them mean, and how these levels are generated through formative assessment. I'm hoping to help you identify areas where you can help your child, because learning does not stop once the child gets home from school. Those students who make more progress are those who continue their learning and are supported in doing so outside of school. Also, I'm hoping to give you an understanding as to what we're doing inside of school, because like yourself, our children also are very naive when it comes to analysing the data on the report. So there's a lot we're doing in school to help them identify how they can make progress using their reports. Now, as I said, at the starting of year 7, your child comes to us with their end of key stage 2 data. We then use this together with their CAT4 assessments. These are the assessments, the baseline assessments that we use to generate the end of year 7 targets. The end of year 7 attainment is then used to inform the end of year 8 targets, and so on. So these CAT4 assessments that I keep going on about, we'll have a quick look at these now. They assess the students in 4 areas. Like I said, there's not much a child can do to revise for these. The 4 areas are verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, spatial ability. Now, we can use a child's score in any of these areas to help inform our planning. So, for example, if a child's verbal reasoning skills are normally low, it normally identifies a weakness in literacy or English. So again, from the very start, we can start putting in place provisions for the child. If someone's quantitative reasoning skills, quantitative reasoning score rather, is high, it normally signifies that this child is going to be really good at maths. So again, we can start looking at putting in place provisions for that particular child. So your child sits these assessments, these CAT4 assessments, and they generate a report that, in summary, looks something like this. It will generate end of key stage 3 targets, which we then use to derive end of year 8 and end of year 7 targets. You can also see how your child compares to a child of their ability. Now, these red dashed lines indicate the average. Most children will fall within these brackets. If your child is above this, it normally means that they're going to do really well in that particular subject. If a child falls outside of this bracket, it normally means that that child will probably need support in that area. We can obviously use this data to do comparisons between students, comparisons between cohorts, comparisons among subjects. And also, like I said, it allows us to see how that child compares with children of similar ability. Now, as well as generating end of Key Stage 3 targets, something else that the Cat4 assessments do that are really useful are generate targets like this, specific targets that we can then use to work with the children. What we do with these targets is that these will be used to feed in to the student target setting process, which we'll take a look at shortly. And again, they can be quite specific, i.e., needs to read more often, is more likely to prefer visual instructions rather than written, and so on. So these can really be used to inform our planning, especially when it comes to children who have already been identified as having some sort of a learning support need. Something else that we've introduced this year, again, the first run will be at the end of this year, is progress tests in science, English and maths. And now these are end of year tests which will test the students across the year and give an end of year level. Now, historically, we did end of year tests which were derived by the subject teachers. Now, this is just an alternative method of data, if you like. We've already got a consistent teachers' assessment throughout the whole year. This just gives us an alternative. 9 times out of 10, they should, the levels will be in line. If they are not, it then allows us to put in place provisions to address those shortfalls. Now, again, as with the GL assessments, these also throw out targets which can then be again used by the subject teachers to inform their planning. I'm not going to regurgitate what's on the slide here, but it actually identifies specific weak areas that you can then address with the child. So that's our baseline assessment processes and our end of year tests in maths, science and English. Now, throughout the year, you will receive 4 termly reports. These show how your child is getting on and are normally based around formative assessment that's taken place regularly during the lesson. So you receive your first report, it will look something like this. So what does this actually tell you? So down here we've got the end of year targets. Here we've got the current attainment, so you can see how your child is working with regards to that target. It also gives us some information on effort, behaviour and homework. Normally, if a child's behaviour, effort, grades are good, excellent, they're more likely to meet their targets than someone whose effort and behaviour is a concern or unsatisfactory. So, you can see how your child is getting on in comparison to that target. You've also got some sort of a picture as to the behaviour, effort and homework across all the subject areas. So, you received your first report, you understand what the levels, what the numbers mean, and you've had some discussion with your child in order to help them achieve their end of year targets. A few months later, you then receive your second report. Now, again, you analyse this and you realise that in English, geography, history and maths, the levels are the same as they were previously. Does this mean your child has made no progress? Does this mean your child has gone backwards? No. I don't believe that progress goes backwards. Progress, by definition, is a gaining process. You acquire, you gain, you possess, you observe. You're taking in stuff all the time. I don't for 1 minute believe that the time of period we're talking between reporting cycles, 6 to 8 weeks, that a child is going to completely forget something that they have learnt. Yes, they will become stronger and weaker in that, and that is normally reflected if the level remains the same across multiple reporting cycles, like here in English, geography, history and maths. So, again, you have a look at this report. You're well within your rights now to ask teachers, to speak to teachers, whether it's during Parents' Day or whether it's via email, as to why your child's level has not increased. We at this stage will have had dialogue with the child i.e. we would have told them that they haven't made the progress expected of them. They may still have made some progress, however, not what we expected of them, and we may well put some provisions in place to help the child address them. For example, here, the effort and behaviour in maths is a concern. So again, we'd speak to the children about that and maybe put in place provisions to address that. Normally at this stage, we wouldn't get parents involved. You would come in parents' day, we'd talk to you about the lack of progress, so on and so forth, but we would directly involve the child in addressing these at this stage. So again, a couple of months go on, and then you receive your third report. Again, as you are analysing this, you again realise that the levels in geography and English still haven't gone up. They are still as they were in the first report. So your child is now certainly not making the progress expected of them, and is probably well off par their end of year target. At this stage, we will meet with the parents, tell the parents that the progress their child has made is not what is expected of them. They will then also be involved in putting in place provisions. We will work with the parent and the students to again help address some of these concerns. Again, as you can see from this report, behaviour and effort again seem to be problems in some areas. Maybe this is restricting the child's progress in that area. What is it with their effort that's a concern? What is it with their behaviour that's a concern? We would then work with the child and the parent in order to put targets in place to help the child make progress. So moving on, and again, this scenario is very rare. Very rarely will you get to the third reporting cycle and a child has not made progress. And normally those that don't make progress, those whose levels haven't increased at this stage, there's a good reason for that. They've probably missed a term of school due to absence or something along those lines. So moving on, come the end of the year, you receive the final report. And again, the levels have increased in all areas except for English. Now, at this stage, I, in my capacity, will have done everything I can. I will have tried to work with the student. I will have tried to have worked with the parents. The student will have been referred to support by now, yet there's no improvement on their level. They are not making the progress we expect of them. I will, come the end of the year, again, this is very rare. I have never dealt with a case where a child has made no progress from the very first report to the last. However, if this case does happen, I will forward this on to Mr. Faisal. This case will be referred to Mr. Faisal. I will, inform him that I've tried everything that I can. I've gone through all the provisions that we have in the school to help the child make progress, and nothing's happened. It is then between Mr. Faisal and the parents in order to put in place the next form of provision. And Mr. Faisal will meet with the parents and take it from there. So I'm hoping that's given you some sort of an idea as to how our reports work, what the data on our reports means, and how you can use the data on these reports to have some sort of a dialogue with your child when it comes to progress and making enough progress throughout the course of the year. Now here on the screen, guys, I've got a pathway diagram. This gives you some sort of an indication as to how levels refer to grades. Now currently all your child's assessments are done via national curriculum levels. All children currently sitting GCSEs are graded in letters. By the time your child sits their GCSE exams, it's going to be numbers like this, so there won't be no ABC. A child who's normally achieving, who normally achieves a level 7 at the end of year 9, if they were to continue, if they were to take their GCSEs, then they would probably get a level, a grade C, or under the new GCSEs, a number 4. Now, these are not concrete. It is clear that students make more progress year on year. They normally use, at the end of the key stage 3 levels are normally used to boost and motivate students during their GCSEs. GCSE grades are normally used to act as an impetus, if you like, when the students then go on to do their A levels and so on. But this gives you some sort of an indication as to if what a level 5 child might look like come their GCSEs. All our children are not going to get A stars. We need to accept that, and we need to work with our children in order to help them achieve the best they can. That may necessarily not be, an A star grade. I believe, we do so much damage to children when we put unwarranted pressure on them and expect grades of them that they are simply not going to get. The idea is that we work together to help the child achieve the best they can. Not the best that we want them to, but the best that they can. Moving on. I spoke briefly earlier about the student target setting progress, and like yourselves, I believe our students are pretty ill-informed when it comes to understanding what the levels on their reports mean, and even more so when it comes to identifying how they make progress. So if I want to achieve a level 5A in English, how do I do that? So over the coming year, I'm hoping to do a lot more work with students to help them better inform themselves using the data on their reports. So at the start of every year, students will be given a template like this without the termly grades in it, of course. It will have in it their end of previous year levels and their end of current year targets. This target sheet is obviously for the year 7 child, hence why we don't have any end of previous year levels for subjects outside the core subjects. At the start of the year, we will use the end of year targets together with the targets that the GL assessments generated to set some generic targets to help the child make progress. After every reporting cycle, we will enter the levels into this template, and again, the child will be able to reflect and analyse how they are doing in comparison with their targets. And again, they will set themselves targets in order to help them achieve their end-of-year targets. So after every report, a student will sit down with their form tutor and they will have some sort of dialogue about how they can improve across the board. So maybe set 2 or 3 targets around their report that will help them improve by the time their next report is due. These targets will be shared with parents after every reporting cycle. These will be emailed to parents so that they can help the child achieve their targets too. Like I said, it's going to be joint effort. This is not something that I can do on my own, or this is not something the children can do on their own. It is something that we need to work together on, and I'm hoping this is the start of that. You leave this presentation feeling more informed about the reporting, feeling more informed about our reports, and that's the start. That is the start. Inside of school, other than the target setting process, there is a lot more we do to help and support our children. After every reporting cycle, I will analyse the data, and where there's behaviour concerns or effort concerns, I will address these with the children, maybe by putting in place short-term targets. If by the time the second, third reports are due and there's still not being progress, the child, no progress in terms of behaviour, parents are probably going to have been spoken to. If a child is not improved in terms of attainment, those are also going to have been addressed. In school, we have literacy support. If I feel a child is not making the progress expected of them, I would normally refer them to literacy support. The same for maths booster classes. If I feel a child is not making the expected progress in maths, I will normally refer them to the maths booster. Now, these support classes, guys, are something that I need your support with. Your parents always have the final say on support sessions. I will not force children to attend them if you don't agree. You will have to sign a letter. Now, guys, it's quite easy in society to see this as a label against your child. And it's easily done in society. I know parents who refuse to send their children to support because of this title, because of this label. My job is to help children make the best progress that they possibly can. If that means that I refer them to a math support session for one term in order to help themselves, in order to help them pull themselves back up to where they are expected to be, then so be it. There is no embarrassment in that. There is no shame in that. Every child, sometime across their academic life, will need some form of intervention. So please, don't support us in that, and don't for 1 minute see it as label. What can you parents do at home to help your children? Well, firstly, I'm hoping you'll be in a better position to talk to your children about their reports. That's vitally important because it gives you an idea academically of how your child is getting on at school. Also, we now have the Show My Homework application. It allows parents to follow homework. So again, you can use that to ensure your child is doing their homework, is on track and haven't missed any deadlines and so on. Support us in our decision making is another important aspect. As I said earlier, we are experts in our field. If we feel a child is not making sufficient progress in a certain area, in a certain subject, we've probably got data to suggest that. And all we ask for is your support when we put in place provisions to address some of those concerns. Another thing that I don't feel we do a lot of is to talk to our children about school generally. It's vitally important. I know we have busy work lives, and I know time is precious, but showing a little interest in your child's education acts as a massive motivation for them. I deal with children whose parents have little influence on their school life, and then I speak with those who have a direct influence on their child's progress outside of school, and there's no doubt which make the more progress. So I'm hoping we can work together collectively to help our children make the progress they are capable of. I hope that you've learned what I expected you to learn from our presentation. The important element being that of being able to better understand our reports. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at ilal@alson.com. I'll be more than happy to help you. I'm hoping this is a start of dialogue between parents and the school. And I'm hoping this is one of many presentations that I'm going to put together to help inform you about what we're doing in school, whether it's to do with reports, behaviour, our PHSC program or anything like that. Thank you for the time you've taken to listen to my presentation. Bye-bye.